Question to Pastor Buya. Pastor Buya, how do different generations, for example, we have had the baby boomers, the millennials, the Gen X, the Gen Zs, and the rest of the generations. So how do different generations perceive and prioritize social issues? Maswali yakitokezea, andika so that we can address them.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. I want to make a disclaimer. I am going to attempt answering this question, and I will expect as many answers as possible, questions as possible from you, and the answers will be provided by us. Bwana Yesu asifiwe. Bridging the gap. There is what we call the generational divide. When we started this discussion with Pastor Pauline Jumbale at the former studio quarters there, we realized that there is a gap, a huge gap that is existing, and it needs to be addressed. And the best person to address it in our context, we thought, was the parent, to drop down from the way they perceive things and the way they want to bring up their children and fit into the shoes of their children and seek means and ways on how best to handle them from their point, not their point. There, the lower one means the younger generation's point, and there, where I point a bit high, it means from the parents' point, because there is a place that the parents are, and it is because of their background and upbringing, as we will see in these points that I'm going to read out here. First and foremost is the workforce in this country is consisted of 4 generations. That is baby boomers, Generation X, millennials, and Gen Zs. These generations were raised in different social and political atmospheres. So, sir, you can tell me how the Ugandans are either suffering or enjoying the leadership of their president, who happens to be a baby boomer. I don't know which generation our president is in, but we saw how things went haywire. And I'll never desire to have such an experience again in my lifetime. And that of my children, it was bad. They were raised in different political and social atmospheres. Different childhood upbringings and familial environments also contribute to the cultures, behaviors, and the way these generations respond to various issues in life. All this begets different values, wants, and needs in adulthood. Of course, we are growing. Life is progressing. We are growing. It is common psychology that the environment in which an individual is brought up in, namely the things that they lack or are deprived of in their childhood, strongly influences their value development throughout adulthood. So when you see the Gen Z is behaving the way they are, vile vitabu wanasomeshwa shuleni, I support my brother actually. So unasoma kitabu kama Kifo Kisimani, Tumbo Lisiloshiba, Waziri Maradhi wa Mayai, inaendaje hiyo kitabu? Wakati sisi tulisoma Government Inspector, tulisoma Visiki, tulikuwa tunaona they were very political, but the books that they're studying now in high school, maze, so help us God. And we all know that different generations approach social issues with varying priorities, largely shaped by their life experiences, dominant societal narratives that they were exposed to in their time. The younger generations, like millennials and Gen Zs, often prioritize issues such as environmental sustainability, that is to the millennials, social justice, and ethical business practices. Especially this is about the Gen Zs. We have seen the movements that were taking shape we have seen the current problem we are having with Suluhu. I don't know whether she has a suluhu to our problem with her. Kwa sababu ni kama sasa maji imemshinda nguvu. Older generations may focus on more traditional concerns like economic stability and national security. It is because they come from that background. My brother here mentioned a very important thing to take note of, that the baby boomers are coming from a background of World War, hizo vitu. Sisi hapa kuna watoto wetu ambao tunalea walioko na background ya COVID. Na waliona vile mtandao ulishape maisha katika dunia. Alafu unataka kuja kumregesha kwe analog. Kama mzazi, mwambie akiingia kwa gari, apishe mtu mzee mzima kiti na yeye amelipia hiyo kiti. Na sheria inasema ni one seat, one person. Amweze lewana. Bwana Yesu asifiwe. Sorry, we are not in church. I forget so easily. So there are also generational differences in prioritizations. The priorities differ depending on the generational differences. The millennials and Gen Zs, these are younger generations that are more concerned with social and environmental issues. This is reflected in their activism and consumer choices. They are known to prioritize one, environmental stability. They are more aware of climate change and advocate for sustainable practices in business and personal lives. 2, social justice. They are more likely to engage with most issues of social justice concerns. 3, ethical business practices. They are more likely to support companies, organizations, institutions, etc. with strong ethical reputations and socially responsible practices. And I want to note something here, that we have witnessed that the recent spat that was almost paralyzing some operations in some churches, because the Gen Zs believe pastors are receiving financial donations from top political leaders who do not deserve, because of the way they are leading their lives politically and in public. They do not deserve even to come near God. In quotes, That is why when you bring 5 million to where is him Topanga, I will receive it, and the Gen Zs might come knocking to my church door and even my home door. Wanisalimia na si kwa heshima. Ile mama alisema watakusalimia kwa heshima, lakini hii yao si ile ya heshima. Those are the challenges. They perceive things differently. The Gen X, they are pragmatist and focused on work-life balance, often prioritizing financial security and job stability, more likely to be actively involved in community organizations. And as I said, each generation is influenced by the background that they are coming from. Baby boomers, they are seeing significant societal and technological shifts, often prioritizing economic stability and national security. They are more skeptical of new technologies and social movements. And there is this I call silent generation. The oldest generation, having experienced both world wars. I think this is more of the baby boomers. Na hiyo generation hapo nyuma yake kidogo. World wars often values loyalty. They often value loyalty, family, and traditional values. They may have more conservative views on social issues. I want to say this, that the way we react to, let me go back to my question. How do different generations perceive and prioritize social issues? The way we react to social issues, it depends on what we know, how we want it implemented, the reality on the ground, and the urge that we have for quick solutions to all our problems or to our problems. I am saying this because we have witnessed a big clash last year between the Gen Zs and the government, and the results are never pleasing. Those parents ambao wamepitia majanga ya watoto wao kwa sababu ya kuingia parliament wakakule, was it lunch or breakfast? Ilikuwa lunch. Some are dead, some are maimed, some are nowhere to be seen up to now. So you can imagine the pain of those parents. Where is the problem? The young people feel there is a gap. There is something that is not being handled right. There is no forum for them to express themselves. So wakatoka barabarani wakiwa na simu na data. And then from nowhere mambo yakabadilika, ikaanza sasa ni fujo. Ilipoanza fujo, the government had to come out with all its disciplinary machinery. And then the rest is history. Young lives being nipped in the bud. People ambao kwamba they were educated, they were in school some. The parents are a lot of expectations. Anamregeshwa kwa nyumba akiwa kwa sanduku. And I was touched by a testimony given by a bishop. I don't know whether he was a bishop or he was just a reverend father. He was going to church, and then at some point the son akamwambia, dadi simama, kafungua mlango akashuka kamenda kanisani, I am joining my friends. They have an identity, and it is because of the way they have been shaped. Now the question is, how can we handle this? How can we as Generation Z handle this divide? The truth is, all generations are supposed to work to a harmonious, I don't know how to fix it now, but life needs to have some harmony with all generations working together so that life can become better. But as we see, each generation is segregated and living like in a corner. And I think we are the best people to help in producing the answers. And you know why I'm saying we can help bridge this divide together? It's because even in scripture, the greatest revivals began by one person, not very many. If here we are as many as we are today, we can bring up a very big change by coming up with solutions through this discussion and letting these solutions hit the waves, letting these solutions go out there, reaching out to our parents, reaching out to our leaders, reaching out to our churches, so that these differences can cease to exist and we can come together and make planet Earth the best